Okay, number 58. Let's start to get the secant parentheses by itself. So we start by subtracting 4. And then I have a 3/5 times this, so I'm going to multiply by 5/3. So I'm going to get my calculator out and do that. All right, so it'll be hard to see there, but that's okay. So parentheses, (20 plus 2√3/5). Minus 4. Times 5/3. So 1.1547. If you don't have the feature on your calculator where you can type in that fraction, you just need to be careful with your parentheses. Okay, so then I need to take the inverse secant of that, but most calculators don't have the inverse secant function. So if the secant of angle is equal to this number, okay, I have secant of parentheses with stuff in there, is equal to 1.15. Secant is the reciprocal for cosine, so 1 divided by secant, which would be cosine of that stuff, is going to equal 1 divided by 1.15. So I'm going to do 1 divided by that answer. So 0.866. So now I have cosine theta over 3 plus 3 pi over 4 is equal to 0.866. And that looks like one of my exact values. If I take the inverse cosine of both sides, we can figure out what we're working with. And I get 0.52359 radians. 0.52359 radians. I do think that's pi over 6. I can check that. And it looks to be pi over 6. So that's an exact value, but let's see what we have then. So now I have theta over 3 plus 3 pi over 4 is equal to pi over 6. And if this was, let's see, pi over 6 plus 2 pi n, and where else is cosine positive? Quadrant 4. So 11 pi over 6 plus 2 pi n. Now I can subtract 3 pi over 4 from the fractions and multiply everything by 3. Let's see what we get here. So minus 3 pi over 4 and then times 3. So theta equals pi over 6 minus 3 pi over 4. If we put those both into 12, it's 2 pi over 12 minus 9 pi over 12. So minus 7 pi over 12 plus 2 pi n times 3, which is negative 21 pi over 12 plus 6 pi n. The other one was 11 pi over 6 minus 3 pi over 4. So see, that'd be 22 pi over 12 minus 9 pi over 12, be 13 pi over 12 plus 2 pi n times 3. So graphically, the two solutions to this original equation are going to be at negative 21 pi over 12 and 39 pi over 12. But those are both outside of the domain from 0 to 2 pi. The first one is between 0 and negative 2 pi, and the second one's between 2 pi and 4 pi. If we add 6 pi n to both of those, it's just going to move it further away. So graphically, theta doesn't equal the value we want anywhere from 0 to 2 pi, and that's why there would be no solution for this problem, or undefined. I like no solution better in this case because there are solutions, just not within the defined domain of 0 to 2 pi. And this one also worked out with exact values, knowing that pi over 6, but you may not have understood that 0.866 was root 3 over 2. Definitely probably don't know that the decimal, when you take the inverse cosine of it, was going to be pi over 6. So if that wasn't the case, then you could just use your calculator the same we did in the last video and work with the decimals and see that it's not going to really fit the domain this time. That's it.